out of the book of Joshua, and I want to share out of chapter 9, verses 12 through 18. Uh, the bread was hot from the ovens when we left our homes, but now, as you can see, it is dry and moldy. These wineskins were new when we filled them, but now they are old and split open, and our clothing and sandals are worn out from our very long journey. So the Israelites examined their food, but they did not consult the Lord. Then Joshua made a peace treaty with them and granted their safety, and the leaders of the community ratified their agreement with a binding oath. 3 days after making the treaty, they learned that these people actually lived nearby. The Israelites set out at once to investigate and reached their towns in 3 days. The names of these towns were Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack the towns, for the Israelite leaders had made a vow to them in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. The people of Israel grumbled against their leaders because of the treaty. So the king of Gibeon was very well aware of what Joshua did to um, Jericho and Ai. So they were very afraid. They did not want to go out like these two fortified towns did. And so, in order to save their self, they hatched out a plan to deceive the Israelites by making it seem like they were from a faraway land when they were actually should have been the next town that the Israelites were supposed to take over and and wipe everybody out. Um, so they were very clever in their ruse, and that they made sure that their food looked like it'd been with them for days. They wore tattered clothes, tattered sandals. They made themselves look ragged, and and the Israelites bought it hook, line, and sinker. Um, what the Israelites had failed to do, though, was to consult the Lord to see if this was true or not. They just looked at the evidence presented to them, and they fully accepted that what they see must be true. They failed to get confirmation from the Lord on the validity that the Gibeonites were claiming, that they were from a far off town. So they blindly made a treaty. Um, and for the Gibeonites, this was a major win because the Israelites made a binding oath before the Lord that they would not harm them whatsoever. Um, so this in the future causes a lot of trouble for the Israelites. Because if Joshua and the leaders would have confronted the Lord would have revealed the deception that the Gibeonites were causing. But as it was, they didn't, and they relied on their own judgment to see what the to consider what was true. 3 days later, of course, they found out that that the Gibeonites were very close to where they were at. Um, and they confronted the Gibeonites about it, but Joshua refused to let the the Israelites attack or kill any of the Gibeonites because of the oath that they created. Um, and the problems that this caused for Israel was almost immediate, because five of the kings had heard of what the Gibeonites had done and making a treaty with the very people who were destroying everybody in the land. Decided to ally together to attack Gibeon, not attack Joshua, because they all knew that Joshua was very successful because of his God, and so they didn't want any part of it. So they figured they could take Gibeon out. Now, on the surface, you would think that would be a good thing, um, but in hindsight, it wasn't, because Joshua knew that he now had to defend these people that he was supposed to wipe out because of the oath that he made with them. So he, you know, he took his army. They defeated the five armies. Of course, we got the most. We got one of the most powerful prayers and miracles that anybody from the Old Testament since Moses had asked for, and that was the day that never ended, where Joshua pretty much prayed to demand that the Lord keep the day going so they can defeat these five armies. And God granted that prayer, um, and defeat and protected Gibeon. But the point of the story is that whenever something looks suspicious, because some of the Israelites did ask him, "How do we know? You're telling us the truth." They just failed to follow through and ask the Lord, "Is this true?" Um, we can rely on our own judgment, can cause us to accept something that we think is right or think is good that actually isn't, that actually goes against what we believe or what we were told to do. Um, and so the end result uh, is trouble for us in the future, can cause problems for us in the future. Um, and the biggest thing that comes to mind is when we started taking God out of our schools, stopped taking prayer out of the schools, and all these folks in politics who decided that we needed to take God out of the picture of our courts, of our governments. That's bringing nothing but trouble for us. And it's going to keep on bringing us more trouble the more and more we do it. Um, God's our sovereign leader. We must follow his commandments. We must follow what he leads us to do. Um, and then when we're presented with something that seems suspicious or doesn't quite seem right, we need to consult in the Lord and grant his wisdom and grant us his foresight so that we can see that what may be looking like a good thing is actually completely contrary to what God wants. So, with that, I love you guys. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.